Hi. A lot of us are facing a new reality where the streets are empty, office buildings are abandoned, and schools are closed. In just a little over a month, the coronavirus has almost entirely changed the way we work. Almost every interaction is now through a screen. We all know this won't last forever. There will eventually be a vaccine, or cases will drop down enough to where people won't be so scared to leave the house. Lots of states are already loosening restrictions. But will businesses and schools go back to the way things were before? Let's discuss. Even though right now the economy is not doing so well, this sudden push to a remote working environment could mean massive savings in operating costs for most businesses. Obviously, this doesn't apply for every business. Hospitality and service, hotels need to have a building, and restaurants need to have a kitchen. But do colleges really need multi-billion-dollar campuses? Or does a finance firm really need 30 floors in a downtown building? Most businesses also lease their workspace, so it's not as if they're building equity through ownership. For example, when Aetna, one of the largest healthcare companies in the US, closed some of its offices, they saved nearly $80 million. When American Express did something similar way back in 2013, they saved about 10 to 15 million. The benefits aren't just for businesses either. Right now, the shift to remote feels really jarring, and everyone is trying to figure out how to stay motivated while at home. I know I definitely feel that. But before Corona, most people saw working from home as a good thing. It makes sense why. Can you imagine never having to worry about bad weather, or having a bad hair day, never having to pick out an outfit, never having to worry about getting the good parking spot, never having to make small talk or worrying that someone will steal your stapler?
Oh, there it is.
What?
Here, let me just go ahead and get that from you. Great. So, if you could just get to that as soon as possible, that would be terrific, okay? Thanks a bunch, Milton.
But,
Bye.
well, okay, but I could set the building on fire.
I could really just go on forever about all the annoying work things. Think of all the money saved on gas and dry cleaning, plus getting to sleep in a bit later. Then there's traffic. On average, a person spends about 100 hours a year just sitting in traffic. That's about 333 days out of your life. If you live to be 80, you may spend a full year just sitting in traffic trying to get to work on time. Even if you don't have horrific commutes, you will still benefit from all those people working from home. There will be less pollution, less noise, more parking. Heck, with fewer cars on the road, your insurance may even go down a bit. In the long term, remote work also means you can live wherever you want and you never have to relocate when you switch jobs. So, you could enjoy the higher pay scale of a place like San Francisco, but avoid paying rent in one of the most overpriced real estate markets in the world. You could live in Wyoming, where the land is open and a man can think. Not to mention the fringe benefits of working from home. I think we've all been in a situation where you and the boss accidentally go into the bathroom at the same time. Then you try to do your business as quietly as possible, but some things are just out of your control. After the deed is done, you meet at the sink, trying as hard as possible to avoid eye contact, trying to not mention what both of you just heard, what both of you just smelled. You desperately want to get your hands clean, but the water just takes forever to get hot. Finally, it gets hot and you're standing there scrubbing as hard as you can, and a bit of foamy soap flies off your hands onto your boss's jacket, who is using the only other sink, which is right next to you. You mumble, "Sorry." Your boss pretends not to notice. You both awkwardly stand there for a second, not sure who should go for the paper towel first. Finally, you leave the bathroom and neither one of you mentions the incident ever again. Sometimes at night you lie awake and think, why, oh why did you believe it would be a good idea to mix last week's chili with fish from a food truck? If only you worked from home, you would never have gone through that. The humiliation will last a lifetime. Of course, it's not all good. Working from home means most of us will probably have to start buying our own printer paper and staples eventually. Anyways, forget about that super relatable rant. Lots of research has also shown tangible benefits to working from home. Some studies have found that remote workers can have 105 extra free hours on average per year. So you've basically gained about 4 days of free vacation. Before Corona, many companies also tried to sell flexible work arrangements as a benefit. In fact, 2 years ago, nearly 5 million people were already working remotely, at least 50% of the time. Just last year, so right before Corona, a survey conducted by Owl Labs found that nearly 30% of people worked full-time remotely. They expect this number to rise to about 50% by 2025. Now it may arrive even sooner. Overall, only about 20% of people claim they do not want to work remotely. On the employer side, workers claim that they would actually work more hours per week if they were remote. So, for a salaried worker, this is basically free labor for the company. Remote workers also report higher morale on average, and a Stanford study even finds lower attrition rates. Furthermore, remote workers are more likely to take a pay cut than be forced to work on site. About 20% said they would take a pay cut of more than 10% if they could work remotely. All of this could work together to raise the reputation of the company, which could attract better workers and more investors while simultaneously lowering costs and increasing profits. As for universities, remote education has already proven to be very effective for those that have other commitments. Plus, with the ever-increasing cost of four-year institutions, going fully online seems inevitable. As for schools, I know what you're thinking. Schools will never go remote because kids need face-to-face interaction to learn about proper social behavior. I agree with this, but the changing workplace means they also need to learn how to behave in a virtual environment. Proper video call etiquette will be a requirement in the future. Learning to stand out against virtual competitors will be a mandatory skill. We'll have to teach that the camera is always on and that you should not go to the bathroom when you're on Zoom. But I do admit it's an uphill battle. Teachers have enough difficulty as it is trying to get kids to focus and learn in a traditional brick and mortar school. Can kids really be trusted to pay attention in a virtual class? What will prevent them from just having their cell phone telephone outside of the camera's view and just goof off all day? So either parents will have to constantly monitor their kids, which will be impossible for many, or there will have to be some robust and probably creepy monitoring system put into place to make sure kids are actually receiving a high quality education. Not to mention, school sports and clubs are a large part of growing up. Really, that's the most fun part of going to school. How exactly will that work in a virtual place where kids may never meet face to face? There hasn't been a lot of research on virtual schooling either. It's just too new. But what has been done so far shows a lot of room for improvement. When discussing math scores, a charter online school study conducted about 5 years ago, researchers from Stanford said that it was literally as though the student did not go to school for the entire year. In other words, if we're just looking at math scores out of a normal 180-day school year, online school students basically missed 180 days of education, which is crazy. If we're looking at reading, online school students missed about 72 days of education compared to traditional schools. The whole charter school thing is very complicated. Charter schools are businesses, so they don't have the same incentives as regular public schools. Plus, the rules they must comply with also vary significantly between states. I don't know if a public online school option would produce different results, but from this one high-quality Stanford study, it is clear that online schools are not delivering the same quality of education as traditional brick-and-mortar public schools. Final thoughts. I strongly suspect that even after Corona has passed, businesses will look at moving towards a fully remote workplace. The financial incentives are simply too great, and it is a mutually beneficial relationship. I know that the stock market is doing well now, but it looks like end of the year earnings for most businesses will be down. So they will be trying to save money wherever they can to appease stockholders. For those that can get out of their leases, they will most likely just keep working remotely. Even for those that can't, they may also keep working remotely to raise worker morale or just save money on utilities. As I said before, the data suggests that most liked working remote before Corona, so it seems reasonable that most will like it after Corona too. It is difficult to know what will happen to public schools and universities since their goal isn't really to make money. Public institutions have to answer to voters. Will parents really be okay with their kids attending virtual classrooms? What if we tell them that e-schooling will mean lower costs and therefore lower taxes? These questions rely more on emotions rather than economics, so I don't know where the cards will fall. What I do know for sure is that this unique period of public education will be responsible for thousands of cool studies on the efficacy of virtual schooling. Hopefully in the next couple of years we will have a definitive answer. Let me know what you think will happen. Would you mind working from home for the rest of your career? Would you be okay with your kids going to online school? And please comment, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Bye.